In this video, I'll be talking about why Dana White hates old fighters. Because after seeing Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie confirmed, I just can't bear to witness another old man get beat up by a fighter in their prime in the UFC anymore. It's gone too far, it needs to stop, and I'm calling Dana White out. So this isn't the first time that Dana White has sent an old man to the slaughter, and honestly, he needs to stop because these guys, they've got maybe one or two fights left in their career. They ain't going for the belt again. They know it themselves. And Dana White, just instead of giving them, a more easy matchup, someone much down the rankings, or maybe someone not even in the rankings at all, he decides to give them an elite fighter. And he hasn't just done it once. He hasn't done it twice. He's done it many, many times. There's prime examples throughout the UFC. Obviously, recently we had Frankie Edgar fighting Chris Gutierrez. That wasn't a matchup that should have happened, okay? Frankie Edgar was not going to beat Chris Gutierrez. He looked slow and he got KO'd in the first round by a flying knee. But I'm not surprised because we all knew it was going to happen. He just doesn't care. It's almost like he's mad at them for ending the contract. And it's really not ethical. He should just give them someone out of the rankings, an up-and-comer, someone who's trying to get into the rankings, and it makes it fair on both parties. It's an easier matchup for the old guy, and it's also a matchup that if the younger guy wins, it's kind of challenging for him, but if he wins it, it means that he will get a place in the rankings. Because honestly, it's like Dana White wants to deliberately hurt them and punish them for trying to leave the UFC. It's not right. It needs to stop. So we're going to go through 3 examples on on where it's happened, and why he shouldn't have done it. So first of all, we've got Frank Edgar versus Chris. I mean, why did that matchup even happen in the first place, They should have just given him someone out of the rankings, but instead they chose to give him Chris, and Chris just absolutely destroyed him. Frankie looked off the entire fight. He looked slow. He looked slow and terrible. It just was a recipe for disaster. Dana knew it himself. They knew it when they were making that match. They were probably laughing to themselves, thinking, "Geez, this guy's getting knocked out, and then he's gonna have to retire." But I don't know why Dana White hates old fighters so much. But he should just give them an easy opponent. Another example. He's not so old, but he was definitely after his prime. Is Nate Diaz. They tried to get him to fight Khamzat Chimaev. I still can't believe that very, very nearly happened, but it all fell apart just before fight day because Khamzat couldn't make weight. But it's actually it's a blessing in disguise for Nate Diaz that fight never happened, because I'm telling you, that would have been an absolute mad fight. It would have been destruction. Nate Diaz would have taken so much damage from Chimaev if you couldn't sub him. He would have just ground and pounded him the entire time. Nate Diaz stood no chance in that matchup. If that happened, it genuinely would have been concerning to watch. I don't think I would have been able to watch it just for Nate Diaz's sake. And another time it happened is with Jose Aldo. And I know he didn't take a lot of damage or anything like that against Merab Dvalishvili, but why would you give him that? A UFC legend, someone who's been there for over 10 years. He's fought anyone you wanted. He's been champion. He's, helped the UFC gain promotion in Brazil. He's made many memorable moments, knockouts, finishes, etc. He's fought Conor McGregor. He fought everyone you wanted him to fight. He was a company man. And you repay him by giving him a wrestler in his final fight. What is the thought process there? Could you have not given him a striker? Because Jose Aldo is not a wrestler. That is not the fight he wanted, I guarantee you. They were being awkward, and they would have literally said to him, "Oh, well, we don't have anyone else for a long time, and you're going to be even older then. So fight Merab now, or just fight when we don't know when you're going to get a fight." So why would he give him Merab? Surprise, surprise, Merab just held him against the cage for 3 rounds, didn't really give him an opportunity to strike, so he won. And it's just a shame for Jose because he didn't even get to go out on his shield because it was a really boring fight. And obviously, I know that probably really annoyed Jose. But it almost, to me, guys, it almost feels like Dana White does it on purpose to ruin their fighter stock, in the sense that if they want to go to say maybe another promotion, maybe one that actually pays a bit better for a bit more money, one of the other ones One or whatever after their retirement, or maybe do some boxing, he hopes to do it on purpose so that they lose their fight and it kind of ruins their stock. And honestly, I think he deliberately tries to get them to get absolutely destroyed. The Nate Diaz fight, Nate Diaz was going to fight again regardless of what happened in that matchup. And he was really, on Twitter, he was really open about how he wanted to leave the UFC and do something else. So my opinion, I think it's pretty widely accepted, to be honest. My opinion is that Dana deliberately did that fight to try and crush Nate Diaz's stock and his hype and make him look really bad at fighting. So therefore, he'd basically get less money outside of the UFC, less deals, less advertising stuff and all that stuff, and he'd find it harder to make a living after the UFC because he was going against the UFC by tweeting how they need to pay him more money or like he needs to leave and it sucks. So that is why I think he does it. I think he does it kind of out of spite and to actually try and impact their careers. And in some ways, you can see similar patterns in the Ngannou thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're planning a card. I'm pretty sure they're going to do a card. Whenever he ends up having a boxing match, I don't know who he's going to have it against. It seems like Deontay Wilder is a potential opponent. I'm sure they'll put out a very, very stacked card that night. If it happens on the Saturday night, they will do a stacked card that day. They'll do it on purpose. You know what Dana White's like. He's very, very petty. And, it's his way or the highway. And I think he does it on purpose. And it's cruel matchups. And the Korean Zombie versus Max Holloway is not the fight to be making. For Max Holloway, that is the easiest paycheck of his life. So obviously he's not going to turn that fight down. And he gets to fight a legend of the sport, add it onto his fight career record, So it will look good on his record. So I can see why he's taking it. But, I don't know why they decide to make that, because Max is obviously going to win every single round. His striking's far superior at this point. And I can see just the Korean Zombie taking like career record damage. I mean, we saw the fight against Volk. He didn't really have anything for him whatsoever. He got finished within 3 rounds. The referee stepped in, but he was completely done. And he took so much damage in that fight. And I'm just thinking that if he fights Max Holloway, it will be very, very similar. I think it might take an extra round or two, because I think Volk's just maybe got a bit more power in the hands and he was kind of dropping him and stuff. And I don't know if Holloway's going to drop him as quickly, but I can just see Holloway teeing up on him, really hurting him. And what a bad matchup. What a bad matchup. It seems like it was done out of spite, because this is probably going to be the Korean Zombie's last fight. If he loses, I think he'll retire. And it's in Singapore as well, so it's in Asia. So he'll probably just retire he'd rather retire to an Asian fan base, because obviously he's Asian himself, and instead of fighting in the USA. And also he's a really big name in Korea. He has a big YouTube channel and he makes a lot of money off that. So I presume Dana's thinking, I'm going to ruin this guy's stock, try and make him lose fans, expose him for being a bad fighter. Well, of course he's not going to win this matchup. He's fighting prime Max Holloway and he's far out of his prime. He's taking way too much damage. He's old. He's slower. He doesn't have as much power. He's just not as good everywhere, okay? So that's my thoughts on that. It really needs to stop. I'm not a fan of it at all. And that's the video, guys. So obviously my video today was a short one. It's just on how Dana White hates old fighters. But I want to thank you guys for watching. Subscribe so you don't miss any future UFC content. I do this every single day. We're keeping content out no matter what. Every video is at least 10 minutes long on my channel. So leave a like, subscribe, comment down below what you think. Am I being delusional or am I speaking facts? Let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next video.